The ER was crowded, but the room went silent the moment the doctor raised his voice. A black woman stood there, breathing hard, one hand on her chest, the other gripping the counter, clearly in pain. But the doctor didn't see a patient. He saw a problem, an inconvenience, someone he could swat away. "Go sit down," he snapped, not even looking at her chart. She tried to explain again that she couldn't breathe properly. He cut her off. Loud, sharp, in front of everyone. A few nurses glanced over, but looked away just as quickly. The doctor leaned in, smirked, and said the words that made the entire waiting room tense. "People like you always exaggerate. You're fine, go home." Her eyes didn't rise to meet his. She just stood still, calm in a way that should have warned him. Because she wasn't who he thought she was. And when he turned his back on her, that's when everything changed. She sat down slowly, pressing a hand to her ribs as the pain tightened again. No one helped her. No one even asked. The room watched the black woman quietly suffer while the doctor strutted through the like he owned every breath inside it. But even through the pain, she noticed the young mother across from her, trying to calm a crying toddler, eyes swollen from exhaustion. Without hesitation, she slid her own grocery bag toward the woman. Inside were small snacks she'd bought on discount for the community shelter she volunteered at every week. "Here," she whispered softly. The mother's eyes filled with gratitude. The doctor didn't notice. He never did. He moved with the confidence of a man convinced he controlled everything: the staff, the patients, the rules. He barked orders, bragged about surgeries, boasted loudly about being the backbone of this hospital. The nurses nodded, pretending to agree, too scared to push back. He loved it. She watched him breathing through the tight pain in her chest, not with anger, just a quiet, heavy sadness. She'd seen men like him before, men who thought authority meant worth, men who believed power came from titles, badges, white coats. But she carried a different kind of power. A power she never flaunted. A power she didn't need to introduce. As she shifted in her chair, the sleeve of her coat slipped slightly, revealing the corner of a meticulously embroidered monogram. A nurse noticed it. Her eyes widened for a split second before she quickly looked away. The woman simply pulled the sleeve back down, hiding the detail again. She didn't want attention. Not yet. Not here. Another wave of pain hit, harder this time. She inhaled sharply, but stayed composed, even as the doctor's voice boomed from across the room. If she wants real treatment, she better learn some manners. He believed he was untouchable. He believed she was nobody. And that belief was about to cost him everything. The minutes dragged on like hours. Each breath felt heavier, sharper, more dangerous. She tried to remain calm, but the doctor seemed determined to make an example out of her. He walked past her twice, each time slowing down just enough to shoot her a dismissive glance, as if her pain was a performance he'd grown bored of. A small crowd had gathered near the reception desk. They weren't watching to help, they were watching the spectacle, the humiliation. A few whispered, someone recorded. She kept her eyes low, refusing to let anyone see the tears threatening to rise. The receptionist called her name, not to take her in, but to return paperwork she'd already submitted. "We can't process this," she said coldly, sliding the forms back as if they were contaminated. "Your insurance doesn't match our system." That wasn't true, she knew it. She built the system. She swallowed the hurt and nodded, her voice barely above a breath. I understand." But inside, a quiet ache spread deeper than the physical pain. Why is fate so cruel? Why do people still look at her and see less? Another surge of pain tightened her chest. She leaned forward, gripping the chair. A nurse flinched, stepped toward her, and then quickly stepped back when the doctor shot her a warning glare from across the room. A security guard approached her, not out of concern, but suspicion. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," he said. "Calm." She hadn't even raised her voice. He hovered beside her like she was a threat instead of a patient fighting to breathe. People watched. No one intervened. The doctor strutted over, shaking his head dramatically for the audience he didn't know he had. "This is what happens," he announced loudly, "when people waste hospital time. She's not even an emergency." A stabbing humiliation shot through her chest harder than the pain itself. Her eyes blurred, but she refused to let a single tear fall. Her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant. "Board is ready, investors waiting. They want you here in 20 minutes." Her throat tightened, not from pain, but from the cruel irony. The same hospital, dismissing her, was minutes away from welcoming her as its new majority owner. She stood slowly, breath trembling, but the doctor stepped in front of her, blocking her path with a smirk. "Leaving already?" he mocked. "Good, saves us the trouble." The room watched. She finally lifted her eyes. And for the first time, he saw something in them he didn't understand. Something that should have terrified him. He opened his mouth to say something else, another insult, another dismissal, but she stepped past him with a calmness that instantly shifted the air. The room felt colder, quieter, heavy with a tension no one could name yet. The doctor scoffed. "Where do you think you're going? I didn't clear you to leave." She turned back to him slowly, and for the first time she allowed her true posture to surface, tall, steady, unshaken. Every whisper in the ER fell silent. Her voice was soft, steady, but carried a weight that cracked the room open. "I didn't ask for your permission, doctor. I came here to see how you treat the people who depend on you." A few nurses exchanged confused glances. The receptionist froze mid-sentence. Even the security guard's stance shifted. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small black portfolio folder, the kind only high-level executives carried. Inside, a document with a bold hospital seal and her signature. The doctor's smirk collapsed the moment he read the header. "Acquisition and transfer of ownership, 78% majority stake." His lips parted, but no sound came out. She looked him directly in the eyes. Calm, controlled, heartbreaking in her dignity. "As of this morning," she said gently, "I am the new owner of this hospital." Gasps. A nurse silently covered her mouth. The receptionist dropped her pen. The security guard stepped back, as if gravity had changed. The doctor stumbled, literally stumbled, reaching for words that refused to form. She didn't gloat. She didn't raise her voice. She simply added the one line that shattered whatever ego he had left. "And the way you treated me today is the first issue I will be addressing." His face drained of color. The hospital no longer belonged to him. The power no longer belonged to him. And for the first time all day, everyone finally saw who she really was. The room was silent for a moment, the tension still thick in the air. Then a murmur began. A few nurses clapped softly, hesitant at first, then louder as the reality sank in. The black woman who had been humiliated, dismissed, and ignored now held the power of the hospital in her hands. The doctor's face remained pale, his usual arrogance replaced by something new, regret. Not a word left his lips. He knew he had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. Staff members approached her cautiously, offering apologies wrapped in awkward bows of respect. Patients who had been watching whispered among themselves, acknowledging the injustice they had silently endured. Every step she took toward the front desk was met with recognition. She didn't gloat, she didn't laugh. She simply accepted their respect with quiet dignity, her calmness magnifying the weight of the lesson. The hospital would operate differently now, compassionately, fairly, and without prejudice. Karma had been delivered, not through fury, not through violence, but through justice itself. A nurse approached and whispered, almost tearfully, "Thank you for showing us it doesn't have to be this way." She nodded gently, Her eyes scanned the room, lingering on those who had doubted her. The lessons of the day weren't just for the doctor. They were for everyone who had underestimated her, dismissed her pain, or assumed her worth by appearances. Power didn't always roar. Sometimes it waited, patient, silent, unstoppable. And as she straightened her coat, ready to take control of the hospital, she left them with the quiet truth of her strength. Because sometimes the quiet ones are the strongest.